You're listening to a Comics XF podcast.
Matt Lazowitz, and welcome to this week's episode of Bat Chat with Matt and Will, a Batman ranking podcast, where each week my co-host Will Nevin and I dig into 3 Batman stories, discuss them, and rank them on the big board, thus creating a giant list of Batman stories from best to worst. Will, how's it going tonight?
No, it's going pretty good. A prelude to our prelude. Before we get to, well, first of all, I am once again exercising my contractual right to move the right of rearrangement to next week. That aside, I had a bit of a weird day today because I got out of the house too late for breakfast. And when I miss breakfast at the gas station, which is where I have breakfast, I'll just go to Five Guys, get a hot dog, some fries, good, well-balanced meal. And while I'm there, I notice a little kid, maybe 4 plus or minus 1 or 2. He is off by himself at a table all alone. And I quickly piece together he has got 1 or more parents working. So he is there because there's no childcare available. And that really bums me out because it's kind of it's sad, right? It's sad that we gotta have this poor kid sitting around at Five Guys because the parents got to work at Five Guys and they can't afford childcare. Kid, though, having the time of his life. He's got a little workbook in front of him. He's got his tablet. He's having a good day. And me, almost 40-year-old man, I'm thinking a couple of thoughts. One, I cannot interact with this kid because I am a grown-ass strange man. I don't want those kind of questions in my life. But 2, again, this situation kind of bums me out. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I eat my hot dog and my sack of fries, and I see that he's got a Spider-Man backpack. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Good to know. The Five Guys is only a couple of doors down from the GameStop, and I know GameStop in the last 5 years, we don't really do video games anymore. We just sell shit, trying to stay in business. So I'm like, you know what? I'll pop into the GameStop, get the kid some Spider-Man stuff. Just do something nice for the kid. I go into the GameStop. Sure enough, they got your Spider-Man collectibles. I think I pick out, I want to say it's video game Spider-Man Miles Morales, maybe. I think that's what I wound up going with. And so I get the thing for the kid, and I'm walking back into the Five Guys. And then I have this thought. Okay, now I'm a grown-ass man getting a toy for a strange kid, and I don't think I'm making my situation any better. So I just give the kid the toy, and I just walk away very quickly. But I hope he and his family have success and joy, and I hope they're like, what random stranger gave our son a toy today? How did that shake out? Okay, so that was my day.
I will see you and raise you one.
Oh, what you got?
Okay, so this was Sunday, and I might need an opinion on how terrible or not terrible a person this makes me.
Uh-oh.
So, Sunday night, as is my wont, with Amber being away visiting her mom, I went to the movies. Got out of the movies around 7:30, stopped, got myself a sandwich, found a nice spot, sat outside, ate my sandwich. Got home around 8:30, starting to get dark. Not quite completely dark, but it's getting dark. And you were only at my house once, so you might have some bare recollection of this, but most of our listeners have never been to my house. So they do not know
Dan, though. Dan's been to your house.
Dan's been to my house. Dan knows. But my house is sort of back from the street about 15 feet, and there's a sidewalk that winds up to it that is shaded on most side by trees. You can't really see the front of the house. So I start walking up my sidewalk to the front door, and as I get about 5 feet up and I'm starting to see the actual front door area, I see something. I don't know what it is, but it's got to be about 5 feet tall and boxy. It's Sunday afternoon. That's big. Neither Amber or I have ordered anything like big on the internet. Nothing that size. What the hell is that? And I freeze for a minute. I'm like, okay. And then I was like, all right, I gotta see what this thing is. And I start walking up, and as I see around it, spread out on my front lawn area, or it's not really a lawn, it's like a little copse of trees, is a picnic blanket and a woman just laying on her back on her phone. Just there
In front of your house.
in front of my house, well onto the property. We're talking they're a good 15 feet onto my property.
Oh, B word, you got to go.
Well, I stop him like, excuse me?
Can I help
Uh,
you?
can I help you? "Oh, no, I'm fine. Is there something I can get you? No, I just need a rest. I'll be gone in 5 minutes. I'm like, okay. And I walk into my house because I don't know how to react to this. This is a person who I've never seen before on my lawn, just acting almost like I'm interrupting their day.
Yeah, I don't care for that.
Yeah, after I go into the house and I get ready to text Amber, and I'm like, wait, no, what am I doing? And I turn around and I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, I need you to please leave my property. Okay, that's all you needed to say, sir. I'll be gone in 5 minutes. She gets up, starts packing. I text Amber, and Amber's like, you need to make sure she's gone. I look out and she's gone. My assumption is she is unhoused because the thing that I saw was a stroller, a covered stroller. So my assumption is she carries her property in there. I offered her like water or something in case she needed anything, and she said no. Part of me feels bad that I ran her off my property because she clearly needed something, but there's nothing I could give, and it was just the most befuddling interaction.
Yeah, we got to have some kind of conversation before you camp out. If you need something, if you are in distress, if you're in a rough spot, absolutely. What can I do for you? But just, I mean, you can't just camp out, right? You can't just act like you live there.
If she had said when I asked if she needed anything, it's like, she had said more than, she said, I'm sorry, I don't have anywhere to go. I just need a place to sit for a few minutes. I'm like, okay, but she just acted like I was the interloper, and it just made me very confused. And I didn't know what to offer her aside from a drink, and I would have, if she needed to get somewhere and had somewhere to go, I guess I would have gotten her an Uber or something. My initial reaction was like, I said, do you need a ride anywhere? Like, I probably wouldn't have given her a ride because in my own car, I wouldn't have given anyone a ride in my own car who was a stranger on my, lawn. But I would have tried to do something, but she didn't seem at all interested in any aid. She just, yeah, it was a very just surreal interaction.
Yeah. Huh.
I wish I could have done more, but I had no idea what I could have done because I was just, yeah, it was, yeah. I don't have the words.
Odd human interactions out of the way. Time for Bat Chat Movie Chat. After talking to everyone, I feel like I'm a bit softer on weapons than like America.
You're probably softer on it than me. I don't think you're softer on it than America. I've seen a lot of people who were, it's okay.
First, once again, as always, got to tell old Bobby Two Bucks to just put the discourse down and walk away. Apparently, there's a lot of online weapons discourse, as with all things. I thought at least the beginning would have been a lot sharper if we had lost the opening recap. Like, I felt like we didn't need a lot of that. If we just opened cold in the auditorium, I think we can really pick up pretty quickly where we are. The narrative structure was interesting. I don't know if it did a whole lot for the movie, but it was a bold play to go the opening 30 minutes without Josh Brolin. But I guess if he's the executive producer, he's busy with other stuff. Just like Together, I feel like the movie loses a little juice once you get down to spoilers. It's just a witch. That's all it is.
My quibble was I think it probably could have used one less of the POVs. Same
Yeah.
length movie, but have spent a little more time with some of the more important characters. I don't think we needed either the cop or the criminal.
Yeah, I think you could have lost them both, especially because both of those characters were so thin.
Short of some of the bits in Naked Gun, I have not laughed as hard at a movie as the very end, as the final pursuit.
That's pretty good. Like 16 kids chasing a demon clown witch lady through glass.
Have you seen Barbarian?
No, but apparently it's at least worth tracking down. I was shocked to learn that this guy was a founding member of Whitest Kids You Know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah,
Apparently the thing you do now is you start in sketch comedy and then you move on to horror films.
yeah. I liked Barbarian more than I liked Weapons, but I still liked Weapons. I think there were also some bits in Weapons that I feel like were in there from an earlier draft that hadn't been edited out. The
Yeah.
dream sequence with the gun, I was like, wait,
Yes.
it's literally Chekhov's gun and it's never fired.
I thought this movie was going to be. Once I see that, I'm like, oh, this was a school shooting, and this is some kind of delusional lens. On top of that, this is some kind of, oh, we barely bat an eye at a school shooting, and now I don't know. I thought it was leaning somehow in that direction. But yeah, that's never explored or investigated or anything. Very strange. And Justin Long. God
Well,
bless him.
he's one of the leads of Barbarian. He has a relationship with Krager. So I think that was in the same way that other directors, they have their friends who do little cameos in all their movies. I have a feeling like Justin Long is going to pop up in all of Krager's movies in a small role at least.
I don't think you could have gotten much smaller than that.
Yeah, that was a strangely small role.
Like, why not make him be the principal? Like, if he's one of your bros, right, and you want him to come in and do a thing, he doesn't have to be just a random dad with literally one line.
I wonder if it was a time thing that he only had time to pop in for, a couple hours.
My brother, what is Justin Long doing right now?
Touche, sir. But hey, we are here and we are rambling and we do have a guest. So
This other guy on the Zoom call.
yeah, it's not just, an audience. We have a guest. We have a first-time guest. Let us give a warm Bat Chat welcome to Patreon backer and new friend of the show, Sam Hopper. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, good to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. But you are our first-time guest, and so it is time to start with your origin story. What are your earliest memories of Batman?
Earliest memories of Batman is reruns of the Adam West show, which is a pretty good place to start, I think.
Yes, absolutely. When did you get into the comics?
The comics took a long time to get into because back in my childhood, the only comics that I had regular access to were ones that were published in the newsagents here. But rather than just following the regular numbering, the UK ones would release a book that would just have 3 random issues from random runs, random times. So you might get a Silver Age story, a Modern Age story, and something in between, or you might get all Modern Age. Like, there was no rhyme, reason, or anything to it. And so that was fun. The comics, I started getting into them in my teens because I discovered libraries exist and graphic novels. And while I didn't follow things as they were happening, there would be plenty of graphic novels. So that was when I started. And then once I was in my late teens and actually had access to my own money, that's when I started actually getting them in earnest.
Well,
Are you currently in the UK?
Yep, in the UK.
Why are you doing a podcast with us in the middle of the night, sir?
Oh, my internal clock is shot to hell. I used to work as a on-call carer overnight, so now I'm just naturally awake at night. It's fine.
Oh, I'm so sorry that you're doing this and not getting a good night's sleep.
Oh, boy. Don't worry about that. I'm fine. Now, if I was doing this every week, it might be an issue, but once every 6 months or whatever, I don't know.
Free.
Free. Also, I'm completely illiterate with numbers, so
You're talking to English majors. We're good. We understand.
fair enough, fair enough.
Since Sam is here and it is his pick, Sam wanted to talk about stories featuring Damian Wayne, the current Robin. I was initially typed the newest Robin, and then realized that Damian was introduced just shy of 20 years ago, so new is a very relative term.
Oh
It's
boy.
still accurate.
Yes,
It's still accurate. That works.
it is, but I could not get over it when I was like thinking about like, wait, Batman and Son was late 2006? Oh,
Ow.
yeah.
Ow. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Our first story of the night is Fright Night. This is Superman Batman Volume 1, number 77. The writer is Joshua Williamson, with pencils by Ali Garza, inks by Oliver Nome, colors by Pete Pentazis, letters by Steve Wands, and edited by Eddie Berganza. The cover date is December of 2010. A dumping ground for victims of what seems to be a serial killer is found in Metropolis's suicide slum. With Superman off-world, Supergirl heads to Gotham to get help from Batman. But Batman's not around, so she has to accept help from Robin. Can Supergirl find the killer and stop him before she kills Damian? So, starting off, problematic creator watch, noted sexual harasser Eddie Berganza. It's amazing how long that guy was at DC. Also, non-problematic creator watch, but an interesting note to start with, as it was something that occurred to me, and I double-checked it right before we started recording. This is, as far as I can tell, Joshua Williamson's first solo writing gig at DC.
Oh, really?
He co-wrote an earlier fill-in issue of Superman Batman, but that's it. I had thought he was a writer who came from Image, where he did some horror comics. He did Ghosted, he did Nailbiter. But it seems like this is his earliest work.
The readings for this week maybe just sort of coalesce around a unified sort of vision that there are precisely three different types of comic writers. First type comes in, does an odd story here or there, not very notable, probably not that good. Second type of writer comes in, does a ton of work, gets plugged in on 17 different books a year, just pushes out a ton of content, none of it very memorable. Third writer, legendary, luminary, does 3 books and then leaves to just do other creative projects. I think we got 2 type 2 writers tonight.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 2 big-time utility players here.
Yeah, definitely.
I think your final example, those legendary luminaries, I think some of them come back. I think there are some people who hang on at that status. Morrison has been doing this for 40-ish years. Animal Man is the mid to late 80s, and they continue to put out tremendous work.
But they're not bound by any company. They dictate what they write. The companies don't dictate what they write. At this point, Grant Morrison, Scott Snyder, Greg Rucka, Jason Aaron, like, they are doing exactly what they want to do and nothing more.
Yeah.
Brubaker is the ultimate example of that. A guy who started out at Marvel and DC and then now is like, yeah, I only want to do graphic novels and I want to release them from Image and I do what I want. More power to him. I've loved all of those books, and we got a new Criminal coming out next month, which I am super excited for. But yes, this is a trifle. I mean, this is a little one-off that doesn't do a lot other than take 2 characters who had never really interacted and puts them in a story together.
Yep. The reason I went with this one, it was the first comic that I'd read where Damian interacted with someone outside the Bat family.
Yeah, it would have been pretty early in his interactions with. I wonder how many Damien interacting with anyone outside the Bat Family stories there might have even been before this.
There's a very, very brief bit in Teen Titans before the New 52 where Dick makes him go on to the team and he's just insufferable. But
Unsurprising.
unsurprising, but it was also something like 8 issues and I didn't want to deal with that. So
Yeah, that would have been a. Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that. That would have been in. Oh yeah, that was right at the end. I think it was J.T. Krull or Sean McKeever, one or the other. Because it was definitely after Johns left when
yeah.
they had a handful of
Oh,
writers.
long after John's left, because there was a period where that book just completely went off the rails.
Oh, it fell apart real bad there for a bit.
Yeah.
Highlight of this story for me, Damien dressing as Little Matches Malone for Halloween.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah. That's pretty much, like you said, it's a trifle. There's not much that we can say about it other than it exists. Damien is a jerk throughout, and
Big time jerk. The story also is one of those stories that takes place in its very particular moment
yes.
in DC history because it's got aspects out of Blackest Night, it's got aspects of New Krypton. There's a lot of stuff going on here.
It's specifically, we're in Batman and Robin, but it's before the return of Bruce Wayne, so that's a very narrow window.
Yeah, because I mean that would put it, yeah, sometime in the last, because there's the Blackest Night Batman miniseries with Dick, and all of that would have been.
I think that's just before Batman versus Robin.
Yeah, I think we're right in the right going into the back half of that run.
Mhm.
I like the general idea here of them being thrust together on a mystery because Kara is not
a detective.
Right, she's not at all equipped for this. Clark, at least, is an investigative reporter. He has some skills in that area. But you put her in this, and she isn't at all trained. And so logically, yeah, let me go and talk to the best detective I know.
Okay.
Oh, great. Dick's not here. I've got to deal with you.
Yeah.
It's not even that because Tim's also not there because he's off being Red Robin, and so
Yeah, right. No, not even. Yeah, Damian is really like the last person you want to deal with.
at this point, Damien's very, very new and is very much an unknown quantity to everyone outside of the Bat family, and he is just so insufferable. He does that whole at the start with Croc. Oh, I'm not trapped here with you, you're trapped with me. And then immediately Croc almost kills him until Supergirl intervenes. But throughout it, he's still just, he knows he's Batman's son, and therefore he thinks he's the best at everything.
And addressing her as alien is kind of gross.
And oh, that.
If this was your first exposure to Damian, he comes off as exceedingly unlikable.
Oh, yeah. If this had been my first exposure with Damian, I would have just wrote the character off completely. But fortunately, my first exposure to Damian was after this, and then going back and going, oh dear, no wonder everyone hated him. He's really awful.
Yeah, it's not until, I mean, Batman and Robin starts the transformation and it works. It's this really slow build to make him less of a shit. But boy, in those early appearances, he was awful. And especially anything written by anyone other than Morrison early on. I think
And as we'll see, even into the New 52, he still sucks.
He does, but there is at least interesting things to talk about there.
Yes, there's layers, there's an understanding of what might be going on underneath the surface of him being a little shit. With stories like this, with stories like that Titan story, he's just terrible. You want to slap him.
I remember when I first heard about Damian Wayne as a concept, I assumed, all right, this is something that'll be a going concern in the Morrison run, and he might exist in as a weird little bit of trivia afterwards, because I was fully expecting, all right, this will be just a one and done, but what does he offer outside of the Morrison run? And at this point, not a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I know I was feeling that way, and I mean, granted, I was also bitter because, like, wait, you're putting Tim off to the side for this kid?
Oh, yeah.
I think if the new 52 hadn't happened, I feel like it probably would have been Dick and Damian still would have been together as a Batman and Robin pair, and Bruce would have been working with Red Robin. But
probably.
Then the new 52 happens, and it's like, okay, only one Batman. So now Bruce has to be Damian's Batman. It creates, which we'll get into shortly, it creates a very different dynamic that does give a lot of story potential, but, oh, Damian's just, at his worst.
And the sad thing is one of my favorite aspects about Damian is that, well, he's just a little bit of a jerk. He has conflict, but the problem is right now that's all he's got, and you need something more than just, oh, he's a little shit who thinks he's better than everyone. Otherwise, you just want him to die.
Yes. I would have been very curious to have seen him exposed to the Scarecrow gas. Which,
yes,
this is a Scarecrow story, by the way. He is the serial killer in this story, because we have not said that yet.
Yeah, and it's just as abrupt in the actual comic as it was here, so...
We're near the end, and we need the villain, so Scarecrow! And specifically...
Targeting LexCorp interns, because he was mad at Lex.
For Blackest Night, where Lex stole his power ring, because that's Lex.
Yeah. This was the first Scarecrow comic I ever read, and that was not...
Oh, yeah, there are many better Scarecrow stories than that.
Oh, I've read more now. But...
any of them?
I will also say, I feel like this issue was something of a rush on the art, because you get
definitely.
to the very end, the last, within the next to the last page, when they're bringing Scarecrow in, it's clearly Metropolis, because it's the same cop who Kara was with at the beginning, who was kind of snide about, you heroes deal with the monsters, we have to deal with the real criminals down here. And Kara also says to Damian, I'll fly you back to Gotham.
Yeah.
But the art shows them actively, big sign, Arkham Asylum. It's like, wait, but they're in...
Oh, it's right at the gates.
Yeah, it's at the gates of Arkham, but it's a Metropolis cop, and she has to fly him to Gotham. So I feel like this is one of those cases of an artist miscue, and they just decided not to fix the art, or to just change the dialogue somewhat, to say that this cop was the one escorting Scarecrow to Gotham. But it's clearly Metropolis, so
it's the Metropolis branch of Arkham. Duh.
Of anything in the universe, any universe to franchise, Arkham Asylum is the last thing you should ever franchise.
It's done so well, though. They've had so many success.
I'm trying to think of who that one success might be, and whatever success.
Great White Shark?
For certain values of success, I suppose. I mean, Amygdala in the pre-crisis continuity, but in a pre-crisis, pre-New 52, but now he's a big old rage villain again, as opposed to, when he was in Bloodhaven, living in Dick Grayson's building and being a good guy. That all got wiped out because continuity, everybody.
Well, still keeping on the art, this has one of my pet peeves with anything to do with Damian. This is not exclusive to this artist, it's just in general. He is too tall, he's to, at this point, he's a 10-year-old, if that, but he's got the same body type as Tim Drake, if anything. In the final page, when he's talking to Dick, Damian should not be at his shoulder height. That is ridiculous.
Yes. Well, I will give our next artist at least credit. He tends to draw, I mean, also because he drew Damian for years on end, but he draws Damian smaller. He's still not quite 10, but he's...
No, but he's noticeably smaller than all the other Robins.
Yes. Here, Damian looks 14, 15, probably.
Yeah.
And he's not even that old in the comics now. He is in the 20 years, he's aged 3 years. He is currently 13. But yeah, no, that is definitely a problem with Damian. We've seen that before.
It happened before, it will continue to happen, but it's always the first thing that I notice.
Oh, I will never forget granted, we've talked about how terrible the art in that first volume of Injustice was, but he looks like Tim Drake. Like, I thought it was Tim.
Yeah. That one, it's actively confusing. At least Tim Drake isn't in this one, so there's nothing to confuse him with.
Yeah, but, that is definitely a valid point on this one. Second week in a row with Ale Garza on art, because he drew some of those last issues of the Cassandra Cain Batgirl series that we covered last week. For an artist we've never covered before, 2 weeks in a row. Weird. Anybody have anything else?
There is much better stories of Damian being a jerk. And it's interesting, well, it would have been interesting to see how he clashes with people who aren't family and therefore obliged to actually cope with him. But, which we will see later, but...
Oh, that means it's time. But Superman, Batman number 77, Fright Night on the big board.
We are at 606 stories on the big board.
God damn.
Number 1 is the post-crisis origin of Batman. Batman Year 1.
Coming in at a sexy 69 is Batman Annual number 14, Eye of the Beholder.
At 200 is Batman 66 meets the Green Hornet. At 400 is the Legends of the Dark Knight story, Infected.
Coming in real high, not nearly as close to the bottom as it once was. At 420, it's Batman, Son of the Demon.
And all the way at the bottom, at 606, it's Three Jokers.
What a dog turd.
Somewhere in the 400s. That's where a lot of these one-off trifles sort of live right now.
The problem with this is it's a trifle, but it's not even a particularly fun one either. I mean, it's not offensive, but...
Right. I'm trying to see...
All right. Ballpark, 450s. Snapper Car, Super Trader, 452. Commissioner Gordon Walks a Beat, 453. Somewhere in there, perhaps?
I'm thinking a little lower, actually. I'm thinking 460s, 470s. Robin War at 484. I think it's above that because that is just too long by multiple issues.
This is one issue, so that's something at least.
Right. There's a whole lot of those one-issue stories in between 450 and Robin War. Like, all right, well, here's one that tends to drive you crazy. Bouncing Baby Boy at 482. Above or below that?
Oh, there's only so much Joe Kelly I can stand. Above.
Okay. I think I would sooner reread those 3 completely insane issues of Shadow of the Bat, Leaves of Grass, where Jason Woodrue regrows his body out of weed and wants to spread a strain of super weed over Gotham to mellow out everyone.
It's more fun.
It's considerably more fun. I think this is going to wind... Okay, let me give you a number.
Give me a number.
New 479. Below Grounded, the first issue of the Batman Beyond comic, where a mind-controlled Bruce Wayne attacks Terry McGinnis. Above Nosferatu, which still to this day makes me sort of scratch my head, as it's really an adaptation of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, not an adaptation of Nosferatu. Except for, you have a bat monster so thus they call Batman Nosferatu, but it has nothing to do with vampires or anything.
Well, we already had the Batman vampire.
That is true. But yeah, I think new 479 is the place to go.
Sounds good.
Our second story of the night is Born to Kill. This is Batman and Robin, Volume 2, numbers 1 to 8. The writer is Peter J. Tomasi, with pencils by Patrick Gleason, inks by Mick Gray, colors by John Callis, and letters by Pat Brousseau. It's edited by Mike Martz, Katie Kubert, and Harvey Richards. The cover dates are November of 2011 to June of 2012. Bruce Wayne is back from the dead and back in Gotham as Batman. And along with this, he has a new Robin, his son Damian. Damian isn't feeling the partnership. He's used to working with the easier-going Dick Grayson. Now, Batman and Robin must learn to work together as a killer arrives in Gotham. Nobody, who has a connection to Bruce's past and mission, and has his eyes set on Damian. I just want to point out, when we've done stories that are 8 issues long, rarely have we gotten 8 issues in a row with the exact same creative team.
Yeah.
No fill-in letterers, no fill-in inkers. This is 8 issues with the exact same creative team. I cannot tell you the last time I have read 8 issues from the exact same creative team from a big 2 comic.
It helps when I'm sure you have a lot of lead time getting ready to launch, getting as many issues as you can already in the can. They had a lot working for them, I would guess.
And they're creators who had worked together for a number of years. That this is 2011, and they were working together back in 06, 07 on Green Lantern Corps. So they had been working together for 4 or 5 years already. So they had a rhythm in place. And they will continue to work together for the next number of years on various comics.
And this book didn't double ship.
Yes,
Oh.
that also helps.
It is amazing when editorial puts people in a place to succeed, they succeed. Stunning.
So obviously, but I'll say it, this is the first arc of the new 52 Batman and Robin. So we are right out of the gate, as we said, in a situation where Damian is now Robin, Bruce is Batman. Theoretically, the death and return of Bruce Wayne has happened, but it's being sort of hand-waved away because it doesn't really work with the new 52's timeline. But Batman, short of Green Lantern, got the softest of new 52 reboots. So we are at a place where, despite the timeline not working, it sort of has to, because we need all the Robins and we need all of this other stuff to have happened, despite the new 52 not really accommodating that in its strange 5-year timeline.
All of that stuff happened, but it was in a dream that everybody had collectively. And they talk about it, but they're like, oh, that was a dream. That didn't really happen. I think in terms of the characterization of Damian, I think in this very first issue here, he might be at his shittiest. The father, why are we going to this scene of your parents' death? Why do you even care about this anymore? This is dumb. This is stupid. This is boring. You should forget it.
Grief and remorse are for the weak.
Yeah.
That is something Grandpa Raish told him at one point or another.
I thought it was interesting how Batman says he's going to pivot from honoring their death to honoring their anniversary. I'm sure that was quickly forgotten. But, as usual, we got your favorite thing, the pearls.
Yeah. Oh, God. I literally have a note here that is just the fucking pearls. It's...
Yeah. And I'm sure that drove me nuts at the time. Knowing where they go with that in the next arc made it a little more palatable this time.
Note
Some,
that you didn't say palatable, just less
yeah,
unpleasant.
yes, exactly. But someday we'll read the next arc and you'll see what is going on there. But yeah, no, Damian is being a true little monster to Bruce in this opening
Uh,
scene.
Part of that I can forgive because with this being the new 52, they have to reset everything. All right, you have to assume they have never read any of the stuff that came before, so we need to establish Damien. He is not aligned with Batman in the same way that Tim, Dick, or even Jason were. There's a lot of conflict right off the get-go, even though, yes, they're family, but that doesn't mean they get along.
Yeah, I have no experience with that. Not at all.
Ah,
I agree, by the way, Will, with that. I actually had a bolded note about, Bruce honoring the wedding anniversary, honoring their life rather than their death, of I wish anyone remembered this.
nobody.
Because I think it's a good idea. I mean, the bit at the end where he's cleaning out Thomas's office, the one room that he had left in the manor untouched from the point of their deaths. Like he'd changed every other room, but never that one. Tomasi is trying to do something here, and it doesn't work over time because big two superhero comics are about the illusion of change rather than actual change. At least, especially when it comes to iconic characters like Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and Spider-Man. These are characters who can't ever really change. There's a lot of pieces here that are setting up this run because this team is on this book for maybe not the entirety of the New 52, but very close. They're at least in it through Convergence. I don't remember if they're still here after Convergence when Gordon is Batman.
The only thing I can think of is the last issue is sort of like an anthology where they do a story, but then other writers do a story. I think it's been ages since I've read. But yeah, it's a surprisingly consistent run, especially for this time period.
Oh yeah. This was a period where a lot of this and Batman proper are consistent through the New 52, but both Detective and Dark Knight are sort of all over the place for this period. But what we get here is we get a new villain. We get Nobody, who is a villain deeply connected with Batman's history. Not just a new villain, but a new character. Nobody is Morgan Ducard, son of Henri Ducard, who we've talked about before, was one of the trainers of Batman. I find it, and this is bordering upon a tangent, but at least is somewhat relevant, that here they establish a firm number of people who trained Bruce during those years.
Yeah.
Damian says 4, Bruce says it's actually 6.
Ah.
But even then, I sat back and was like, okay, if you had to do just 6 people who were the trainers of Batman, because there are considerably more of them over history, who would you boil those 6? Who would you get to be those 6? I could come up with 5 who would be distinct skill sets. And I was trying to think who the 6th would be. Because the 5 I came up with were Ducard, manhunting, that kind of thing. Harvey Harris on detection. Giovanni Zatara for escapology, things like that. Ted Grant for basic fighting. Kirigi, the martial arts master that Denny O'Neil created. And probably one of the other martial arts characters. But I couldn't come up with who that 6th martial arts character would have been. But it's a strange thing to set that number because you're sort of limiting. That number is blown out of the water by the end of the New 52 easily because we see Bruce training under at least that many people during the Snyder flashbacks in Zero Year. And that didn't include some of the characters who we know were involved in training Batman. But Morgan Ducard, nobody. This felt to me like it is doing the same thing that Nightfall did with, okay, we have someone who is Batman, but he kills. And this story is showing us why Batman doesn't kill. But it adds the element of Damian being in there, who is maybe not drawn to isn't the right turn of phrase, but who was raised to
normalized to violence.
Yes, exactly. And so what Ducard here is saying is what he is hearing in his own head. So it's Damian learning this lesson as well and falling in the end. But as we have said in the past, everyone has to follow the one rule except when they don't, and they get a pass.
Will we just talk about that now? Because sure. I'd argue there is some nuance to it, at least with Damian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, throughout this, he's indifferent to criminals dying during the crime fighting. He might not be actively murdering them, but if they get horribly burned by a radiation leak, then who gives a crap? But the thing that strikes me about it is, back when Damian is first introduced, even before the New 52 with Morrison, not only is he fully on board with killing like murderers and criminals, he very nearly killed Tim. This was a big deal. This time, he kills nobody, which does violate the one rule. But the distinction here is he kills him because he sincerely believes that nobody will keep coming back and will not rest until he kills Bruce, which is a big thing. And again, Damian is 10. He may seem more mature, but he is a child at the end of the day. But the big thing is, and the dialogue itself is clunky as hell. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Yes, that's clunky as ow. But what's important is that there's remorse, sincere, genuine remorse. And it's not as well done, but it goes back to Cassandra, who, when she first took her life, that's when it hit her. And this isn't the first life that Damian's taken, but it's the first life he's taken since trying to live up to Batman's ideal. So basically, my point is, yes, he's violated the one rule and is very close to slipping, but even though Bruce and Damian have only been active together for a very limited time, already Bruce is having a positive effect on him.
You're completely right. I agree with everything you said. I think Tomasi is doing that here, and I think he does a pretty good job of it.
Considering that Morrison set him up to basically be the Antichrist in a possible future, this is quite the improvement.
It is. Some of the panels leading up to that, earlier in the book, after the first time that Nobody and Bruce fight, and Nobody beats Bruce pretty savagely, Alfred points out that Damian has just learned the lesson that his father isn't immortal and isn't invincible. And you see that as Bruce and Nobody are fighting at the end. They cut occasionally to panels of Damian watching them fight, and Damian looks pained as his father is being pretty severely beaten. Nobody stabs him repeatedly. He's in a bad way. Tomasi does a good job of, despite Damian still being crappy, us seeing the levels of that and seeing moments of his humanity. The moments of him and Titus, as this is the first of the Damian pets, is introduced here, which will be something that very much humanizes Damian. Mm-hmm. The fact that I think it'll probably be only a few months after this ends, or probably maybe right around the time it ends, when Batman Inc. Volume 2 launches, and there we get Bat Cow and Alfred the Cat, and Damian becomes a vegetarian because he has really begun to see the value in life. And I think that is starting very much here.
Yes, definitely. I've been pretty critical of some bits of this, but one thing that they get right off the bat is Alfred is just delightful here.
As always.
Yeah, spot on, great Alfred, and how empathetic he is, moments he has with Damian, but also the great moment where Bruce has told Damian he has to stay behind, and Bruce leaves, and Damian jumps on a motorcycle, like, I'm going out anyway. And Alfred's like, wait, no, and plants a tracking device on the motorcycle, and Damian's like, good try, Pennyworth, don't quit your day job. And then the next panel shows the second tracer that Alfred palmed onto his cape. Yes. Alfred has experience with numerous young sidekicks who have tried to get away, and he knows exactly what he needs to do.
Been around for quite a while.
Well, not just that, but the fact that he knows more about being a father than Bruce at this point. So very early on, did you tell Damian that you're proud of him? I told him, commendable. That isn't the same thing. It means more than proud. It doesn't mean that to a child.
Yeah.
You've got a lot to learn, Bruce.
Yes. Great moment. At the end, patching both of them up and just Alfred being Alfred about everything that's happened. The moment of pain on Alfred's face when Bruce tells him that Damian killed nobody, and just he can't say anything more than just oh to that. And I think and we've seen moments like this in this era a lot, especially over in the Snyder stuff, but that moment when Bruce, at the very end, when Bruce and Damian are playing fetch with Titus, and Alfred looks up and you don't see what he's seeing just yet. Can't they just have one night before we see, yes, and Bruce sees the bat signal? And it's just like, oh, Alfred.
He's great.
Oh, absolutely. No, okay, well, I'm going to circle back to one of your pet peeves.
Oh, yes.
But I'm curious if it is in this story or not, because it often is, but there have been times where you've found it less obnoxious. A villain whose whole motivation is daddy issues and youth trauma.
Me. Dad like Batman better than me. Yeah, fairly lame, but, and I have been good about this until now, I pretty much gave this a pass because I was tickled that we're reading a villain named Nobody the week that Nobody 2 comes out.
I figured. I thought that might have been when I was booking my movie ticket for this week. I was like, oh, right, Nobody. Huh. I think that there is something there because Nobody was Ghostmaker before Ghostmaker.
Yeah.
It's very similar in the, his rival when he was training, who has no respect for human life, but this guy is considerably more vile than Ghostmaker. He is actively homicidal and lacking in a belief in collateral damage, it feels like. I think Nobody would happily crash a bus and kill all the civilians to take out a criminal on the bus. I don't think Ghostmaker is quite that bad. I don't think he would care, but Ghostmaker would know he should care, so he won't do it.
But if it does happen, it happens. Ghostmaker is still a chaos bisexual. Absolutely.
And he's a self-avowed sociopath. He literally knows he does not have those feelings.
I think the difference for me is Ghostmaker, if collateral damage happens, it happens. He might not actively choose it, but you won't lose sleep over collateral damage. Nobody would actively put civilians in harm's way if he thought it would get him a one-up. At least you get that impression.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, this guy he is a villain. Yeah. He might think he's a hero, but he doesn't even fall under anti-hero. He is a flat-out bad guy.
At the end of the day, it's just, well, Will put it best. Wow, my dad loves Bruce more than me. And he's only talking about, oh, sometimes people have to die for the mission, but that's only in the service of corrupting Damian to get at Bruce.
There's a lot of Emperor Palpatine speechifying here. A lot of, join me, yes. Tell me, have you ever heard the tale of Henri Ducard the Wise?
I will say I am almost never a fan of stopping a story dead in its tracks to go back and do an entire issue of backstory.
There were ways that could have been handled that was less obtrusive to the momentum of the main plot. Yes. I will also point out that at one point or another, when Bruce is telling Alfred that they need to find Damian and use this software, this human kinematic program that allows you to track people based on their body language, Bruce says something about we have a full readout of Damian from his time in the danger room.
Yeah.
In the immortal words of groundskeeper Willie from that episode of The Simpsons, the Shining parody, shh, you want to get sued? Not the danger room. You do not say danger room. That is a completely other thing. There's some very dialogue heavy parts of this story, but I think the last real interaction between Bruce and Damian at the end, where they're talking and Bruce is explaining to Damian, finally talking to Damian, which needed to be earned. So I was like, okay, we're getting that. And it's very clear in that first interaction in issue 1 where Damian is being such a little shit. He's not even reacting to what Damian's saying. He's just continuing with what he had planned to say. But by the end, when they're in Thomas Wayne's study and they're talking, they actually talk. And Bruce explains, yes, I do have the urge to kill these people. How could I not? But I've made the choice not to. And Damian saying, don't give up on me, father. It's more than we would have gotten from Damian, the Damian of the beginning of this book. Damian has grown over the course of these 8 issues.
Yes, definitely.
And in that same scene where Damien says he's always just wanted to be like Batman. Oh,
Mm.
oh.
Ugh.
And we talked about it before, but Gleason does draw a consistently small Damian, a Damian who looks like a kid. And the nobody design is creepy. The spider-like eyes on the helmet and all it is a disquieting design.
Just one little bit trivia. Very early on, it's very weird seeing Damien just randomly kill a bat in the cave when he's frustrated, especially considering
Yeah, that's creepy.
Yes. But the thing is, it's very much a shorthand of this kid is damaged. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about Damian Wayne in particular is he's my younger brother's favorite Robin. And the two things that he loves about him are when he was a kid, he suffered with sudden bouts of anger that were just uncontrolled. It could be violence, but often would be just yelling or whatnot. And he saw that in Damien, specifically grabbing that bat, killing it, but then gently closing its eyes and then dropping it. It's rare that you see a child who has that anger. You see that in characters like the Hulk, but the Hulk is an adult. But seeing someone who was his age when he was introduced to the character, that was something for him. And the other reason he likes him is, well, because he's a bit of a jerk. It's unusual to see someone who's like a sidekick who is not just annoying, but like actively antagonistic, which Damien definitely is at the start. But in contrast to the last story we talked about, where he's just an arsehole, here there's nuance and growth. So
that same scene with the bat, just the very, I think, last panel of it, of Alfred seeing it, and just you can see the pain on Alfred's face, knowing that Damien is feeling something like that. I wouldn't say Alfred knows what he's feeling, but knowing that there's not much he can do because only Bruce can be the one to really reach him is a great, great image. But I think then...
Oh, it's time for Batman and Robin Volume 2, 1 to 8, Born to Kill on the big board. It's story of the night, I believe.
Yes, I think so.
Really? We'll get to it. I
Yeah.
can't be objective about the Super Sons, so
I will say at this, I think the next story is considerably closer to this one than it is to the last story, than the previous story. But I think that this does such work with Damian and Bruce's relationship that it's the thing that speaks to me. Probably in the 200s. I'm trying to see if I think it might even crack into the higher numbers in the 100s. Like, I honestly think, like, 200 is Batman 66 meets the Green Hornet. That's fun, but I think there's more to this. I'm trying to find a ceiling.
Probably Holy Terror, 186.
Yeah. Right, and I think below that, Batman. That's an interesting. Right below that is Batman versus Robin. That's the one where Damian is actually like actively controlled by someone else to do violence.
I'd say worse because while there's stuff that will be paid off later, it's still a little bit clumsy. So,
All right, you know what? I think we're probably at the very top of the 190s. As much as I like JL versus Godzilla versus Kong at 193, that's just goofy fun. There's much more character to this. I don't know if it quite beats 190, the first arc of the Stephanie Brown Batgirl series. Came out right around the came out a little before, right around the same time as actually the last story that previous story. But I think I love that Stephanie Brown Batgirl run. I think that is just such great character work. So I think we're between 190 and 193. So it's either the new 191, 192, or 193. That's a pretty narrow range.
I'd say below Trinity, new 192.
Okay, between Trinity and Batman 66 Volume 3. Sounds good. And our final story of the night is In the Name of the Father. This is Superman Volume 4, numbers 10 and 11. The writers are Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, with pencils by Gleason, inks by Mick Gray, Mark Morales, and Christian Alamy, colors by John Callis, letters by Rob Lee, and edited by Eddie Berganza and Andrew Marino. Cover date is January of 2017. Damian Wayne has decided to observe what he believes is a threat to the world. John Kent, the new Superboy. Neither of their fathers are exactly thrilled with the relationship between their sons, so they set them on a journey to teach them to work together. But two 10-year-olds? That seems like a recipe for disaster.
Just how long was Eddie Berganza at DC?
Oh, for freaking ever. I would not be shocked if it were in the 20-ish year range. Yikes. Looked it up and I was able to quickly Google it. Early 90s through 2017.
Oh, so this was literally the end.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was outed as the sexual harassment charges were outed by BuzzFeed in 2017, and DC just shit canned him. Not that was the first time they knew about it. Like, it was a fairly open secret, as it was with people like Julia Schwartz. So we are here at the beginning of the Super Sons era. This is Damian and John's first meeting, and it will launch the Super Sons series, or series of series, and it will do a lot to change and grow Damian as a character. Because John becomes Damian's first real friend. Everyone else he'd interacted with was family. John is the first one who is just his friend, no matter how unutterably crappy he is to him. I get second friend, because we do actually see Nobody 2. So the first story had Nobody. This one has Nobody 2 in it. Maya Ducard.
Literally nobody too.
Yep, she is the second Nobody. She is Nobody 2. She is Maya Ducard, daughter of Morgan Ducard, granddaughter of Henri Ducard.
That was primarily the reason I did not care for this story at all, because there is so much bullshit going on. So much unrelenting bullshit. Which is fine if you like unrelenting bullshit.
I
I do
don't
not care for it.
think it's unrelenting bullshit. I think it is, there's a lot that has gone on in between the stuff that we have been reading with Damian and this point, and a lot of that stuff is stripped away the further we get away from this period. But we're at the point where Maya and Goliath and all of this stuff that came out of the short-lived DCU YOU Robin Son of Batman series, which was Gleason's story and art book, that right, because that's where Gleason went during that Bunny Bat Armor era.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a lot going on here that is out of your experience, and also all the stuff going on with Superman that we don't have Clark in Metropolis. This is the period that now, I guess, continuity. Yeah, I don't want to even try to explain the timeline and the continuity and how you get that whole period. And I mean, honestly, the timeline really doesn't work with John being 10 at that point without dealing with all of the weirdness of that New 52 continuity that I don't even want to think about.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, a wizard did it. Just look the other way.
I just love John and Damian's dynamic. Obviously, Damian is still a jerk. No matter how much character development he gets, he will always be a jerk. But the big difference is, because John is also a 10-year-old, even though he's been raised by Superman, he will fire back just as much. Perfect example at the end when Damian's talking about, oh, I'll always be the more skilled. Yeah, but I'll be much, much taller. And it just sets them both off.
I love that. I love that bit of that every time when push comes to shove, John is always like, yeah, but I'm taller. Throughout their entire relationship, it's always, but I'm taller. And it always pushes Damian's buttons. Apropos of not much, I really wish they had spent more time dealing with Damian reacting to John suddenly being 3 years older. But that, I mean, it was talked about, it was dealt with a little, but I wish there had been more time, a fuller story about that relationship when John came back during that Bendis era. But that's neither here nor there.
Can't be helped, unfortunately.
Yeah.
For all the convoluted stuff that you've got to deal with continuity, there's a lot of little bits of pieces that I love. I love that Superman and Batman are firmly friends. It's not the antagonistic relationship you often see. The one bit of dialogue I highlighted was when Superman and Batman are just trying to deal with the fact that Damian and John don't get along. Do you think our dads had this many questions raising us? And Bruce just responds, yes, all good fathers do.
Yes. I love that. I like to think that they had those kind of conversations. I know we've seen both a little bit of it in Prime continuity, but it was especially played with in Wayne Family Adventures that Alfred and the Kents would occasionally just get together and talk about what it's like to have raised these extraordinary men. I like the idea that Bruce and Clark are occasionally just like, okay, I just need to talk to somebody who gets it. And they have these moments. And it's not saying that Clark isn't royally pissed that Damian kidnapped his son. The moment that I love is when Damian often, as we said, he gets away with being a little shit because he's so little, and John is the one who can fire back. But also when Damian really crosses the line, when Damian makes the second jab about when John's heat vision first manifested and it killed the cat, the family cat, and when Damian makes that second jibe and also comments about Lois crying about it, he just punches him in the gut.
Yes.
And it is absolutely what two 10-year-olds would do. And then Damian falls in a pile of bat cow shit. It's like,
At the same time, I do find it notable that Damian is this antagonistic because John accidentally killed a cat, And this is very firmly in Damian loves animals and will not forgive cruelty to animals. And yes, it was an accident on John's part, but Damian still has very sort of all or nothing. You do something terrible, I am going to make you pay for it.
Yes, I completely read that the same way. It makes a lot of sense because I feel like Damien doesn't, beyond half measures, or Damien having a very black and white mentality, I think in somewhere within himself, Damien is afraid that if he slips, he's not going to be able to crawl back out. And so he sees, oh, you did this thing, which just means that you've crossed the line and you can't come back because I don't know if I could. I mean, we get to the end and I like that they wind up working together, finally learning to work together, not because they were given some kind of test. Even after the last moment of those tests, even when they had that nice moment together on Goliath, the next test, they still fail it. It's when they think Bruce and Clark are in danger. That it's not about, you need to be able to do this because we're telling you to. It's like, no, we need to do this because we've been taught to be heroes. And now it's time to step up and do the right thing and fight a weird hybrid Clay Joker freeze crow.
Very scary.
Well, yeah, it's a big horrifying monster that fortunately never comes back well, so you don't have to worry about Clayface 9.
Oh my God. Way too many Clayfaces, Matt.
I like that as they're watching the tests, because you got Clark being sort of the eye in the sky and Bruce and Alfred in the cave. That Alfred is the one who keeps trying to say, no, it's time that we stop this. And Bruce is like, no. Because I think Bruce has developed a faith in Damian. And I don't think it's not that Alfred doesn't have faith in Damian. I think that Alfred is just always ready to step in and protect, while Bruce has developed a faith that Damian can make it through these things, which the Bruce of the previous story wasn't there yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I just like this book.
Oh yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, and I think that was the great thing about the Super Sons stories, especially during a period where, I mean, yes, this was not as grimdark as the New 52 era was, but there was still a lot of darkness going on in the DC universe during that early Rebirth era that made Wally West a murderer. But Super Sons was always this little bit of joy, that they were just out having adventures. They were two kids doing kid stuff. It's a great little thing. And John proves himself in a couple of places here that, listen, I don't think you could argue Damian is smarter than John. I mean, Damian is a genius, but John has more sense. That moment with them on the train with Goliath in a berserker rage is like, oh wait, he likes to eat. Here, go for the fish. And then we need to get him off the train, and he's not going to stop eating. Throw the fish and get him to follow the fish. Damian wouldn't have thought of that. John has experiences that Damian doesn't have, and it allows him to think in a way that Damian wouldn't.
Even though he's Superman's son, he's had a very normal childhood for the most part, which is something Damian never had. So
they are really perfect foils for each other. John is just so earnest. It's cute. And it plays so well off the cynicism of Damian.
I don't have anything else to add.
I think I'm good.
This story is much more enjoyable when you have literally read every other story.
Fair.
I found this to be a frantic, confusing mess. And there was probably a kernel of a story I could have enjoyed in here somewhere, but I didn't find it. But I'm glad you guys had a nice time.
I'm
Okay.
forgiving of a story if it has good moments, even if the structure is a mess. And like I say, bits with John and Damien's dynamic is well established. Bruce and Clark's relationship firmly establishes they're both dads now. It's relatively new for Bruce, very new for Clark. Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting to look at this rebirth era across several, different books. What Tinian arc were we just looking at where it had like what, 8 issues, 7 issues?
League of Shadows.
Yeah. And it was similar for, I think, Tom King's book too. Like there were some 2 issue arcs, three, four, five. This is one that I think that could have benefited with another issue, just to let some of this stuff breathe, just to let some of those character moments really percolate and develop, and just to take a deep breath and slow down for a second. Just a second.
fair.
Okay. Well, on that note, I think it's time to put Superman Rebirth 10 to 11 in the name of the Father on the big board.
So without us and our more positive opinions on this, where this would not have fallen problematically bottom of the board stuff.
No, I would have put this probably under Superman Batman. Just because that story didn't frustrate me. This one frustrated me. But look, that's just on me for not having read every other story ever written.
Yeah, I was reading all of Damien's stuff to me little brother at this point, so I forget how convoluted this seems on it in isolation, so that probably doesn't help you.
I appreciate that though.
Understanding where you're coming from there, I would have probably put this somewhere in the 200s. But with that as a very valid point, I think we're probably looking in the 300s.
I would definitely put this above that Superman Batman story though, because while that story isn't frustrating, it's also boring. So
Not much, right? It is next to nothing happens. Here, too much happens, but stuff happens and it develops. We've given things weight for historical significance. And this introducing the duo of John and Damian is important for both of those characters.
I give you a number right now.
Okay.
Right now. 294.
You know, if you could see it, I literally have that book highlighted. I literally have super heavy highlighted and was like, that is a place to start because talk of way too much going on. That is an area. So in between, so right above super heavy.
Right above super heavy.
Sounds good. Well, Sam, thank you very much for coming on the show.
it's been fun.
We appreciate it, and we look forward to next time. And that does it for tonight. Next week, Batman crossovers with Marvel Comics characters, just in time for Deadpool Batman.
Crossover nobody wanted.
Remember, you can support the podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/batchat with Matt and Will, where you can get shoutouts, bonus content, pick a story, and even come on the show. We'd like to thank those Patreon backers: Dan Grote, Josh Wheel, Mrs. Abigail Hartbaum, Asma Fangirl, Tony Thornley,
Go Aggies.
Sam Hopper,
That guy right there. Go to bed, Sam.
John Wickham, Robert
That
Secundus,
asshole.
Robert Secundus,
Bobby, $2. Put down the discourse, Bobby. Step outside.
Tim Rooney, Georgios Reggioli, David Wheel,
World's greatest gray belt.
Alexander Wheel, Matt McThorne,
McThorny.
Dan Offer,
Barely knew her.
Nate Randell, Daniel Mosley, Ross Holmes,
Mr. Randomass.
Will Crisp,
Mi compadre.
Carlos Cordova, Jordan Jennings, and Charlie Etheridge Nunn for their support. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music/Audible, YouTube Music, Podbean, and on comicsxf.com, where new episodes drop every Thursday. You can find me on Blue Sky, where I talk about comics and random things, and Letterboxd, where I review all the movies I watch, both at MattLaz1013.
I continue to feed on the dying corpse of Twitter at Will Nevin. I'm going to make sure Sam goes to bed And then I'm gonna go to bed because it's late and I'm sleepy. My goodness. Good night, Huntsville.
And be sure to visit
Yep.
ComicsXF at comicsxf.com or ComicsXF on Blue Sky for our weekly Friday Bat Chat roundup of new Bat books. For my other show, the ComicsXF Interview Podcast, where my longtime best friend Dan Grote and I interview comics creators, retailers, publishers, journalists, and other related tradespeople, as well as all the other stuff Will and I are writing. And stay safe out there, folks. Gotham is not a place to be after dark.